You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Coming to you live from a different place and time. In the past, in the future, in the alternate timeline? Is this a Man in the High Castle thing or Stephen King's 11/22/63? You want to talk about it? Well, there's no time like the present here on Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast, plus anime.
Plus anime. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Travis.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon. It's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to see and hear all of you.
Yeah, it's the greatest gift we have as humans on this earth. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. Now with anime. That's right. We are officially in the first season of Rick and Morty, the anime on Adult Swim, and as the as your favorite Rick and Morty podcast, I'm just gonna make that assumption. The fact that you downloaded this, the fact that you're watching this on YouTube, whatever you're doing, we're just gonna assume this is your favorite Rick and Morty podcast. We are taking it upon ourselves to cover this show as well. If you're new here, if you're checking this out for the first time, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. If you want to follow us all around the social internet, you can find us on X at Rick and Morty Pod. How much longer, Brandon? How much longer until we just stop saying that altogether? I'm not going to give you time to answer. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast. You can find us on Instagram or Threads at Rick and Morty Podcast. And you can send us an email with your thoughts on the latest episodes or anything going on with Rick and Morty at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. Check out the discussions happening on Reddit, rickandmorty.reddit.com. Our subreddit it's there, Rick and Morty Podcast.
Booming is what it is.
Is it really getting the traction?
Oh my gosh! You know, our Patreon, our YouTube, our TikTok, our live.
Did you
journal,
start a TikTok and not tell me?
Our live journal account, like those things used to get the most traction, but now, it's our
subreddit. You can go to our website, rickandmortypod.com. As Brandon mentioned, you can get video versions of the podcast over on YouTube. That's going to be youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. For all of our podcast videos. And then you can support our show and all of our other podcasts at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm, where you can get exclusive bonus content, including post shows where Brandon and I talk about all sorts of additional things that you can only see over at the Patreon. That is it. Thank you for listening. Until next week, I'm Travis.
I'm Brandon, and we'll see you later. Travis, I want to ask you a question.
Okay,
This is us transitioning into the show proper.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that I put, I was talking about the time, right? Just talking about time and stuff like that. But then I said there's no time like the present. Did you catch that, Travis? There's no time like the present. Get it?
Like that the present is a gift?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah. No, you did a great job in the intro. You know what I was thinking actually while you were reading that is how good you are at you write those. I don't think you rehearse them and then you just read them with like inflection and excitement. First take 99% of the time. I think there's maybe only been a couple times in the history of this podcast where you've had to like hold up. No, I'm going to do that one more time.
Yeah. As I was writing this one, I was like, "There's a lot of words in this," and then I was like, "Man in the High Castle," and then Stephen King's 11/22/63. I was like, "Can I even fit that in there? I don't know. I don't know if I can fit it all in there, but gosh darn it, I'm gonna try." And more often than not, it works. There's a rhythm to it that I can't quite describe.
It's just a natural gift you have for episode openings.
It's just like that song, "Rhythm is a Dancer." Well, Brandon is a rhythm writer. That rhythm doesn't match at all.
Just like the song. Yeah. Well, we're so excited to be back. We have put out a couple of episodes recently, so hopefully you've gotten a chance to listen to those. But yeah, we're going to be trying to cover all of the new episodes of Rick and Morty the anime. So we'll get right into it with our first segment, a segment we call Semi-Pertinent News.
If you want some news, you got to get some news that's semi-pertinent anyway. Brandon's a rhythm rider.
I gave you high praise about your ability to do the show opening, and I'm just gonna let that stay right there. I'm just gonna, yeah.
Is that LaBouche? Who does the rhythm?
You do that research while I talk about our first topic. Yeah, even though Rick and Morty the anime is out now, there is a lot of news, a lot of reviews out right now on the internet about the new show, but not a whole lot of other semi-pertinent news about Rick and Morty. But one thing that we did notice is a significant uptick in the voice actors for Rick and Morty out at Comic Cons. We were at San Diego Comic Con last month. So, some of them were there, not in an official capacity, like doing like panels or anything like that. But we did see a lot of like Instagram coverage of them at San Diego Comic Con. But a whole lot of the cast of the original show for Rick and Morty, they're making the rounds this summer at various Comic Cons. They've been to a lot already. One place where they're going, they're actually doing a panel at the Colorado Springs Comic Con, August 23rd to 25th. You're gonna have Parnell, Grammer, Belden, and Cardoni all there. That's the voices of Jerry, Summer, Rick, and Morty. Panel with all of them.
Oh man,
star-studded.
That's gonna be a blast. That's gonna be a jam blast, full of jam. It's gonna be
so much blast,
like Baja, but without as much caffeine.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not as much.
Yeah, and sugar content.
You gonna go out to Colorado Springs for that Comic-Con?
No, probably not. As much as I want to go to Colorado Springs for that, I would rather, if they had something in LA, I think I would do something. Well, something in LA, I would probably try to do that.
Los Angeles?
Yeah,
not Lower Alabama or Louisiana.
No. Nope, neither of those places. No, Los Angeles, and I just hope that someday.
The City of Angels.
Yeah, the City of Angels, Anaheim.
The Anaheim Angels, yes. Well, if you're not busy on October 5th and 6th, might I interest you in Spencer Grammer, Harry Belden, and Ian Cardoni, all at LA Comic Con.
Oh my gosh.
Brandon, get your tickets now.
Damn
they're
it.
going fast. I don't know if they're going fast. I know nothing else about this Comic Con other than the fact that they're going to be there.
They really should go fast, especially if you live in Los Angeles and you have nothing to do on the 5th and 6th of October, which unfortunately I do. So I want to apologize to Harry and Ian and to let you know I'm going to San Pedro for the final NoFX tour.
How
3
dare
days.
You, Brandon.
3 days.
I'm going to apologize to Spencer just because Brandon didn't.
Sorry,
yeah.
Spencer. Yeah. No, Spencer knows. We go way back.
Spencer knows. Well, with that said, those are all some of the areas where you can see and visit, whether it's through panels. I know all of them have been known to do autograph signings and things like that at different conventions. So I don't know. It feels kind of different right now. Like in the past, I don't know that all of them got out to conventions as often or out to as many conventions. I just feel like there's a significant uptick in the amount of appearances that they're doing, which is really awesome. And
it really is, man. It's really cool to see, especially for Harry and Ian, this is helping them be recognized by the fandom. And with Spencer and Chris Parnell also supporting them on the tour, like I think it's fantastic. So, welcome to the fold, gents. I mean, you're more in the fold than we are.
Yeah.
More
but
power
they
to
actually
you. Welcome us to the fold. Welcome us to the fold.
Thank you for accepting us, Ian and Harry. So that's something that's going on. I am now going to turn it over to you, good sir, for this week's Reddit post of the week.
Thank you so much, Travis. This week's Reddit post of the week is brought to you by Snap, who sings "Rhythm is a Dancer." LaBouche actually sings "You wanna be my lover, wanna be my lover." So if you have the Night at the Roxbury soundtrack, you can hear both of those songs there. It is a great soundtrack. It's prime 90s dance music.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Anyway, so this week's Reddit post of the week is brought to you by Platinum KH, who writes, "What was the intended joke with this guy? Was it that he blew up because Morty was giving generic, insincere advice because he wasn't paying attention to the boring script, or that he begged for criticism only to turn out not to accept even the slightest bit of it when he got what he asked for?" And Travis, I don't know if you know which character I'm talking about, which scene I'm talking about, but it's 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, it's the guy that lives in the lighthouse on the Purge planet.
Yeah, that's right. So
I
this
don't-
in the last week, 919,000 views, 95% upvote rate, 323 comments, and 4.4K upvotes. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean,
Putting you on the spot. What do you think?
put me
of
on the
that?
spot.
What is the intended joke with that guy? Was it that he blew up because Morty was giving generic, insincere advice, or that he begged for criticism?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? Like I think first off, it's the subversion of this this planet where everybody's participating in the festival where they can all murder each other, and then here's this sweet bow tie and sweater vest wearing guy who just holds up in the lighthouse. I don't participate in the festival. You can come on in. Let me read you my screenplay, which right there is a joke because especially in like LA or Hollywood, like everybody's got a screenplay that they're trying to shop around, and they're not always very good. And so, but like you have to, like this guy is literally saving your life, so you have to humor him and listen to a screenplay. And then it's not good. It's not a good screenplay. So then Morty tries to be polite to the person that is literally keeping them alive and say, "Oh, no, it's great." And he's like, "No, I want real criticism. Come on, don't hold back." And then obviously when he gives some notes, the guy gets super offended and kicks him out. So this is probably based on true events in the writer's room, if I had to guess.
I'm right there with you. I have friends who are writers that they like writing books and screenplays and stuff like that. And what I've learned, Travis, you and I, we come from a world where we want to give feedback. People ask for feedback, and we're like, yeah, I want to help you grow as whatever it is that you want to grow in, right?
Yeah.
And when I moved back to LA, what I learned is not everyone wants that really. Even if they ask for legitimate feedback, they just want you to be like, "That's good. Keep doing it." Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They just want positive reinforcement.
Yeah. They don't want any because creatives are sensitive. So like when I send you songs that I write, and I'm always like, "Yeah, this is cool. Oh, please don't hate it, Travis." And thankfully you do, but you don't tell me.
I don't hate it. It's usually that you send it to me in Facebook Messenger at like, when I'm like already going to bed, and then I have to like hit play on it, and then I'm like, is this going to be one of the songs where he's like serious and he has like really good guitar playing and he's like singing a song and it's awesome? Or is this going to be a song where he's joking about, dicks and stuff and and so I hit play with the volume pretty low, and I'm like holding it up to my ear like, all right, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. He hasn't started singing yet though.
He hasn't said anything about a dick yet. Okay.
And then I like get like 3/4 of the way through the song, and I'm like, no, this is really good. I should let him know what a talented musician he is. And then one of my 3 children comes into the room and is like, "Dad, the barn's on fire," or something. And then I don't write you back for 2 days, and then I feel bad about it.
Here's the last thing I want to say about all of this subject is, I'm most sensitive about my dick songs. It's like the opposite of most people. The dick songs are what I'm sensitive about.
He's just in there sweating like he hasn't written anything back yet.
I talked about having a small dick. I hope he I hope he likes the song. Anyway,
All right. Well, that's the
all we
Reddit
got
post of
for
the
that.
week. Yeah, that's pretty much it for semi-pertinent news for this week. If you see a Rick and Morty related news story or anything online that you think is cool or interesting and you think we should talk about on the show, send that into us at any of the social media links or our email, and we may cover it in a future episode. All right, when we come back from this short break, we will be getting right into our review of the very first episode of Rick and Morty, the anime. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Here we go. It is the moment you have been waiting for. It is the time for the thing that we do when we come back. I was about to pull a Brandon and just see how long I could do it, but I'm not going to, because your time is worth more than that. So let's get right into it. It's time for the main thing.
You wanna be my main thing? Wanna be my main thing? Main thing is a dancer. Okay.
I knew it. I knew it from the second that you were talking about those songs that that was gonna be the intro.
Now, Travis, here a little bit of trivia, podcast. Who sings those songs?
LaBouche?
Ah, they do sing one of them, and there was the Rhythm is a Dancer is sung by it's one word.
Yeah, Tremors.
VD. No, Snap.
Venereal disease? What?
No, Snap. I snapped.
Oh.
That's supposed to be your
Okay, got it. Anyway, hey everybody.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. So the first episode of Rick and Morty the anime premiered on Thursday. A lot of people who saw the Rickmobile as it crossed the country got a sneak preview of it.
Yep.
And then on Saturday, I think the Japanese original voice
That's right. The
premiered
subbed version, so to speak.
Yeah, on Toonami, and then released on Max the next day. Interesting. One of the mods of the subreddit, he's an up northern person near like the cornfields, which are really creepy. Not him, but like the cornfields. Children of the Corn really ruined me when it comes to like Iowa and stuff like that. Anyways, so he was like, they played the Japanese version before they played the American version. It like really threw a lot of people off, which is weird. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, premiered August 15th, 2004. Our Bronopsis. Morty is in VR, bruh. Did you watch the dub or sub, bruh?
Yeah, the official synopsis, clearly not written by any of the creators of the original Rick and Morty. While Summer helps Rick fight the Galactic Federation, while Rick is resting, Morty plays with his VR multiverses.
Bruh.
Yeah, no bruh.
No bruh. There's no bruh.
Written and directed, of course, by
Takashi
close
Sano.
personal friend of this podcast, Takashi Sano.
Yeah.
Who, when I think of this man, the memory that sticks in my mind is being out at the Adult Swim pirate party on preview night and him just being amongst the people. Like, very, like, it's so cool that he was just there, like, hanging out kind of in the back, just sitting against that pirate ship, like, DJ booth, just watching all of the different previews with everybody else.
Yeah, and he was with some family as well, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And like we were just like right behind him, like just breathing into his hair, and like he kept like
right behind you,
but he couldn't understand us because he doesn't know English, right? And so, but he was like he kept like batting us away like we were mosquitoes, and and Travis was like, buzz, buzz, buzz. I was like, Travis, stop that. Stop
We're
that.
mosquitoes. We're not bumblebees. I told you this. We practiced in the car.
It's more like of a hum. Anyways, so yeah, that was really cool. So, but let's get into this. So, I think we talked about this on our last episode. We talked a little bit about the differences of the tone, some of like the regional aspects of the show. So I think that's kind of how we start with. This isn't like a Rick and Morty where it's a self-contained 25 minutes and it's like in and out, quick adventure. Let's do this.
Yeah.
This episode shows that it's not going to explain everything to you right away. It's going to piece stuff out over time, and yeah, it can be probably a little discombobulating, a little confusing, I think, and it was for some viewers, especially in the subreddit.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And I would agree with that because I think this show takes a little bit more of an artistic risk in terms of its construction. It's willing to manipulate the scenes that you're watching, the order in which you're watching scenes, and in a show where multiverses exist, different dimensions exist, you have now potentially the manipulation of time. That is not just an underlying plot point, but it is also something that I feel like is being used in the production of the show to kind of bring viewers into that, where is this happening in the past? Is this happening in the future? Is this happening in a VR game? Is this real? Is this not? And when is this happening? Scenes are not necessarily shown in a specific chronological order. And I think that helps to emphasize those aspects of the story.
Certainly, that's right. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get into as well as we can, explaining what we saw. Right. So a couple of our first notes. This seems to take place. I don't know. I don't know if it seems to take place maybe early, like before season 8. Well, definitely before season 8. That's stupid, Brandon. But it's like season 7, season 6, maybe a little bit earlier in the timeline.
Yeah,
the Galactic Federation.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that jumped out at me. Is like, oh, the Galactic Federation is back, right? Which I don't know that they ever fully went away. They kind of went away, but then even in recent seasons, you have pockets of the Federation somewhere in the galaxy where, Rick still has to go and rescue Bird Person a couple seasons ago. Or then now we don't know what's going on. Were they completely destroyed? Is there still something to do with them? But they seem much more prevalent and engaged in what's happening in the universe at the start of this episode, right? I think there's an easy, like there's all different dimensions. Maybe this is a dimension where the Galactic Federation is still around, or they were never destroyed by the Rick that's there, and he's still dealing with the Galactic Federation. Easy, simple. They're known bad guys, right?
Yeah.
In this show, so it's very easy to establish. Oh, Galactic Federation. We know that these are people that are constantly in battle with Rick, and there's not a lot of explanation or exposition that has to happen for us to be able to get that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's right, which is interesting. If they do that right, and like the quick easy answer for some stuff, and we're in obviously episode 1, there'll be 10 episodes of the series entirely, maybe a second season, but let's not go that far. 10 episodes now. This gives them the license and the leeway to bring up any other random characters that might not have, we might not have seen before.
Yeah, and I will just tease at future episodes may continue to pull at different threads with the Galactic Federation, and could deal with other plot lines that maybe went unresolved or are still left hanging. So I think it's important that they were shown here, And I'm curious to see what else they do with the Galactic Federation in future episodes.
Just because you got the episode 2 teaser, Travis, doesn't mean you have any license to ruin my experience.
I'm gonna be real honest. I haven't watched the teaser because I've already watched the episode. Is that elitist? Am I one of those West Coast elites now?
I didn't say teaser. I said, well, maybe I did, but
You did say teaser. You said teaser. Those are the words you said.
Yeah,
Roll back the tape.
F.
Thankfully, this is being recorded, Brandon.
Stream the screener.
Screener is
That's
the term
what I
you're
meant.
looking for.
Son of
Moving
a
on. So also going on in this version of Rick and Morty is Summer. She seems much more featured as almost like an assistant or supporting role to Rick. Much like in heist movies or other movies where like you have like the guy at the computer, the person at the computer. She's just kind of there monitoring things all the time. Like, I thought it was an interesting creative choice to like not have her necessarily be the aloof teenage girl, but just like very much in an active role with what Rick is doing in the universe.
Yeah, she's kind of like Oracle in Batman, right? Barbara Gordon. Like she's just there and she's like coordinating everything. She's technically minded and experienced, and she's tracking where Rick is and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that they hinted in the main series about her competence and how intelligent she is. The fact that they are highlighting it here as in this alternate universe of, that's where she's going.
Yeah, and we see two versions of Summer in this episode where I am assuming from different universes, both with similar roles where there's like more of an alien type space Summer that is taking down the Federation warship, and then another one that's more of a I was about to say C-137, but whatever dimension this is, that's just a supportive Summer at the console, tracking his location.
Yeah. And we talked about it last week, but on the Rick side of the house, much more aloof, right? It's Rick and Morty, the anime, but Rick is almost a supporting character in this, where he's just like he's like he knows what's going on, but he's also just a background character where like every once in a while he's like almost like expository, like he's just providing that.
He hanging out on some Northern Lights type planet or something, enjoying a tropical beverage, playing around with what I think may be one of the most important elements of this series or season. He talks about some sort of bomb that he has that, and he says it very nonchalantly, that makes the flow of time go backwards, which I guess kind of works like a bomb. But but this is really interesting, right? Because we've talked a lot on this podcast about the lack of time travel in the original series, the fact that they've avoided messing with time travel because it makes things really complicated. And here in the first episode of the anime, they're jumping right in. Here is some sort of bomb, some sort of device, some sort of material that allows for at least time travel to go back in time, to reverse time. And how is that going to affect the rest of the series, the rest of the season? Is it going to kind of just hang over all of the season, or is it something that's going to play an important role in sort of the through line? And I think it's really interesting how it parallels with Morty's plot in this episode in VR, and how time kind of jumps around for him in VR. That idea of time travel and non-linear time is really interesting throughout the episode.
I think what's interesting to me, and this is a thought, I don't know if it's true, because obviously we're only an episode in, is when we talk about time travel in Rick and Morty and animated series in general, or even shows, sometimes time travel. Well, no, time travel can be very complicated, and it's not necessarily something you can easily resolve in 25 minutes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and especially if you're getting into more, canon or serialized storytelling, like Heroes. I go back to Heroes, mid 2000s. Save the Cheerleader, Save the World. There's some time travel stuff there. This whole season was based around this, and then at the end of it, they saved the cheerleader. But then all of a sudden, time like, oh no, now because you introduced time travel so early on, now you have to base your whole thing of like, well, why don't they just travel through time again?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why is there another time traveler? So I'm interested to see how this not 25-minute animated series, but the actual 10 episodes expands upon it, explores it, and obviously there's something there that there's a story that they want to tell. I hope that by the end of it they wrap things up in some kind of neat bow. Um, like some fantastic time travel movies, Time Crimes. I highly recommend it. I think it's a Spanish film. It's and Primer too. Primer is another one.
Yep.
Those time travel movies are so good because they end and it's like it's complicated as shit and it blows your mind, but it makes sense. I hope that's how this one ends.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic. And I think that kind of gets us into the other main storyline for this episode, which is Morty, right? So Morty, he's pretty much wrapped up in some sort of VR simulation throughout the entirety of this episode. I say it gives Soft Roy vibes, right? Like every time I watch and rewatch this episode, there's a point in the show where I'm like, this feels inspired a bit by Roy. This feels like, they watched the episodes with Roy and they're like, I bet we could take that and spin it a little bit, but tell that story in another interesting way, especially in the second half of the episode.
Yeah, a little soft Roy, a little soft interdimensional TV to like there's a little bit of those like
and even an aspect of like the Citadel and like, I mean, we get glimpses of a political Morty, we get different versions of a Morty, right? And there's all sorts of Mortys in this town in the Citadel, right? And so like there's flavors, there's inspiration from some of those pieces, but essentially what's happening is Rick has made a VR game for Morty to exist in, distract him pretty much, I think, from whatever Rick feels like doing. But there's like a quote in the episode about how reality, if anything is convincing enough, it essentially is reality, right? And so there's a little bit that gets played with in the episode, and I hate to like use a cliche, but I don't know if a little bit got lost in translation for me, like especially the first time I watched it. Whereas, is this supposed to feel real to Morty, but we were supposed to know as a viewer that this is always VR? Is there a point, especially with the appearance of long, flowy-haired Rick, where he's like, yeah, this is a game, but my dimension is somehow crossing over with this game, and it doesn't make sense, but it is real. And then you think, okay, is the game real? Is it a VR game, or did Rick actually do some lazy science and just like actually put Rick in a multiversal space and say it was a VR game? Like, there's all these questions that start to pop up.
yeah, like the it's then the way that you use it.
Yeah.
Like, and then at the end he's Vat of Acid episode, and then at the end he's like, yeah, no, I mean every time you reset, you killed that Morty.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I liked the way that it bounced around. It showed some different storylines, some different like ways of him growing up with different people. I mentioned the political Morty. Didn't fully understand what the Morty ball was, unless that was just some sort of like token or thing to show like the life of Morty through these different connections or things like that. I don't know.
Is it
It's pretty artistic.
is
Way
it
more artistic than Rick and Morty usually is.
well, they're Citizen Kane, the Citizen Kane reference, and
Yeah.
that's that's in some comments later in our show. But like, is that it's almost like a 2001: A Space Odyssey homage, right? Like
Sure.
like I don't know what the hell this is supposed to mean. It's like you're a space baby now, like some of those things. Um, maybe
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe we'll find out.
There were a lot of, and it was weird, like, and I think it's just, and other people can tell me because I am certainly no expert in anime. I've barely watched any in the past, so I don't know if that style of having quick, short shots that are not exactly tied into or logically linked to other things going on. It felt like there were certain times where, like, we would see the same scene slightly different, and then it would cut to like a version of Rick and Morty somewhere else doing something else, or Rick talking, and then it would just like very abruptly cut again to something else. I don't know if that's something that's common in other anime shows, or if that was just something that was done specifically to tell this story. But there were times where, especially in the first time I was watching it, where I was like, okay, what's happening now? And is this in the game? Is this not in the game? Am I supposed to be this confused, or am I dumb? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Maybe. Well, I was going to say this for the end, but I'll say it now. And that confusion, we talk about that confusion a lot. If you're expecting a Rick and Morty episode, classic Rick and Morty, and you watch this for the first time, and you don't know what to expect, and you're a Rick and Morty fan, I felt bad when we watched clips and stuff of it at Comic-Con, like hearing some of the reactions like in the audience. They weren't like, what, right? Like, it wasn't like they weren't like shouting and cheering.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think part of that is this episode, it doesn't get you to that point in time. This isn't like a holy shit, yeah. It's cerebral to be pretentious.
I mean, it is. It really is, and I think, and it's like they talked about in the panel. This is much more emotionally driven as a show, and while there are jokes and there is comedy in it, I really just don't feel like it's structured the same way comedically as Rick and Morty. And I feel like in a lot of episodes of Rick and Morty, the comedy and the jokes and the bits tend to drive the show. With a compelling story or an interesting story arc, but those heavy and emotional moments tend to come sporadically, right? Or they're there under the surface, and then they just come up at key moments for us to realize, like, even though, there's a ton of jokes and a ton of comedy, there's real heart in the show and there's real emotion. This feels more like the emotion is at the forefront, and that cerebral, get you thinking about things is more in the driver's seat, and they're running the jokes with it, but it's not the driving force.
Yeah. Like, I'll use 2 episodes of 2 different cartoons as an example. I will use Planetina, where like, it starts off one way, and then by the end of it, there is a gut punch of a state. Like, he breaks up with her because because he has principles, and then his mom comforts him, right? But like, the episode leads up to that eventually, but it's not necessarily built in at the beginning of the episode that that you're gonna have this gut punch, right? Then Jurassic Bark of the Futurama, where they're like, you know what, we can build heart into the entirety of the episode,
Yeah.
maybe I'll say Luck of the Friarish, which is when he's thinking about his brother in the past, Clancy, always messing with him. Like it's built into the entire story that there is kind of this emotional thing. And then by the end of Luck of the Friarish, where he thinks that Clancy is a piece of shit and hated him and is awful, he realizes that no, his brother really did love him and really did miss him the entire time. And so
Yeah.
it's a resolve of that drama to the ending of the episode. Um, but what I'll also say is like that's again 25-minute episodes. The resolution of the rise and fall of emotional climax is there. This one is not doing that, right? This one's like starting at a slow build. It's a slow burn. This
Yeah.
is the Andor to the Mandalorian.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I will give you that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the show goes over the course of the series, and I don't know that the jokes are always going to drive, right? I think there are going to be comedic moments, but I definitely think the jokes per minute, right? The laughs per minute in the anime is definitely not going to be similar to what we get from the original series, and I think that's okay. I think it's just not necessarily what a lot of fans expect when they're watching Rick and Morty. They think, oh, the show's hilarious, there's all these jokes. So this is getting more into that other layer of what makes Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
And I think once I realized that, it changed my perspective about the show a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's exactly it. Neither of us are big anime people. The most I did was maybe watch some Dragon Ball Z, play some of the games, My Hero Academia, maybe maybe some Robotech. I think that's all that stuff. Like, and so like anime is not my thing. We talked
Yeah.
about it last week. My brother has a Crunchyroll account that I don't want to watch this.
I'm not. I thank you, but I'm
don't
not using it.
I don't have 40 years to watch a single series of anime.
How many episodes of One Piece are there? Like a bazillion? Like
Bazillion.
it's so many.
There's so many. Um, so, but once I was like, okay, this isn't what we need to expect from Rick and Morty. A Rick and Morty show. It is different. Understand that artistic change. Then I was like, okay, no, you know what? Same thing with you. I think I watched the first episode one time, and I admit this, fair listener, I did fall asleep, but I was in my car and I was about to get pneumonia. So to be fair,
Touche.
but the second time I watched it, it clicked to me, and we were sitting in the press room at Comic-Con. I was watching it. I was like, okay, I see what's happening here, and I the appreciation grew from that point.
Yeah. You talk about artistic differences. One significant difference in this series is the introduction of a new character who we meet in this. It's a new love interest for Morty. I have her written down here as a badass alien warrior lady named Elle who can control time. So that basically sums up everything, right? Like you got your time travel. You have an emotionally driven show that's more focused on emotion than just quick laughs, and that is sort of personified in this new character Elle, who Morty is super infatuated with. She appears to already have a history with Morty, though he doesn't remember her. And there's a lot of intrigue and interest in like, who is she? Where did she come from? Are her intentions legitimate? What is going on? And we only see her a couple of times briefly in this episode, so I'm very curious to see what else we see her in, or how that relationship develops, or what else she can do. Like, how does she manipulate time? In what ways? And for what reasons and things like that. So that seems interesting.
And then so I don't mean to minimize her part in this whole series. We don't have that much information about her.
Mhm.
Similarly, we don't have a whole lot of information about this dude Frank,
Yeah.
who was like Morty's, but like Morty's getting his ass kicked, and there's this guy Frank in the background. But we talked about like these different scenes of different times, and like they're very similar. But this guy Frank is in there in like a space armor at one point in time. Who's like actually he turns into a badass at some.
Yeah, like he suddenly he's got armor, and then there's like a period where they're like he's like his assistant when Morty is running for political office, and then there's another version of reality where Morty is like old and in like a shack, but Frank is like, I don't, maybe his love interest, maybe not. Like I don't. There's some sort of definitely emotional attachment between the two of them. Very much unclear and just sort of like up for the viewer to kind of interpret as they will, I think. But yeah, it was weird because I was writing these show notes and I was like, okay, is this showing us multiple different timelines? Yeah, I think it is. And then it's like, well, no, that ties together with that. And Frank's in that one, and Frank's in that one. I was like, but Morty's rich in this one, and he just came out of a shack in this other one. Yeah, I think these are different timelines. I think these are different versions of reality. And maybe I misread it, but that's the way I interpret it.
Or if we're talking about, there's already a citizen. Oh, here it is. So there's already a Citizen Kane homage there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever seen Citizen Kane, which I know you have.
I have. Believe it or not, I have.
No, I do believe it. That's like one of the things they actually showed you in film school. In high school.
Yeah.
But Citizen Kane is like the whole story of Citizen Kane. For those who have not seen it, it's Orson Welles, and the movie starts with this guy Kane. He dies, and he drops a ball, and he says Rosebud, and everyone's like, Rosebud? What's Rosebud? So the plot of the movie is actually following this reporter as they're going to interview different people who are in Citizen Kane's life. I forget his first name. His first name isn't Citizen, but
yeah.
Anyways, so interviewing people in Kane's life, and they're all trying. This reporter is trying to discern what is the meaning of Rosebud. Where is this coming from? And so it does like flashbacks into the past when he's really young and when he's gets older and some of his political drama and all this type of stuff. And then nobody knows what Rosebud is. And like, I guess we'll never know. And then the last thing is he says Rosebud, he drops this snow globe.
Snow globe. Yeah.
And then it like pans over, and then his sled says sled from when he was a kid.
His childhood toy, the sled,
says Rosebud on it.
Is called Rosebud.
And so after all of it, nobody knows.
Spoiler alert for Citizen Kane, everybody. Sorry.
Is he yearns for the time that he was young and in his youth. So if we're taking that kind of like Citizen Kane homage and we're applying it to this, all of those different periods of time might be these variations of Morty growing up in this VR world at different periods of his life.
Yeah. All right. So I think that, and then the episode ends, right? So, it ends in an abrupt way where finally Morty and Elle are sort of reunited, and at the same time Rick is getting into some trouble, and he tells Summer to stop the simulation that Morty is in. So just as Morty and Elle are about to embrace, then all of a sudden it's static and it freezes, sort of giving us the indication that maybe everything that we saw happen in a simulation and none of it was real. But we'll see, because this show is going to keep rolling. This plot is going to keep rolling from episode to episode. We can't confirm that. So let's go through some of our traditional categories real quickly. Did you have any favorite bits or favorite moments from this show that really stood out to you?
I'll be honest. I didn't pick any favorite bits.
Yeah.
The episode as a whole was just me absorbing it.
Okay.
Maybe I'll say Jerry baking cakes.
Is that in this episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't watch episode. Yeah.
They're running together. Sorry.
How
I
you-
did like the return of the Wrangler weapon dealer from the Galactic Alliance or the Galactic Federation. I thought that was kind of funny. And then the post-credit stinger, where we of course revisit a Cronenberg type world. This time with Cronenberg Morty and Cronenberg L. They find each other. They're excited. They do some weird Cronenberg hug. And then Jerry, like rugged Jerry, shoots him with arrows and drags them off for dinner. So I thought it was funny. And also the return of Cronenberg World. So
That's right.
canonically accurate, even in the anime.
I will say about that. One of our fellow mods pointed out that because Cronenberg Jerry is still there, it must take place in between season 5 and season 6.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially. Let's see. Best worst parts, Travis. Best and worst parts.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I mean, kind of extensively, but really, like what stood out to me was sort of that Citizen Kane homage, and sort of that. Every time I watch I'd say second act of this episode, where they're bouncing around through the timelines, and you see the different, versions of Morty's life. That for me was one of my favorite moments throughout the episode, where they're just kind of telling that story, and you're getting different glimpses. It is very much, emotionally driven, and there's regret, and there's loss, and there's love, and there's, I don't know. I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously, I enjoy Citizen Kane. I tried to tell Chelsea for a long time, was like, I don't get why everyone loves Citizen Kane. Like, it's like Jimi Hendrix. She's like, yeah, I don't get Jimi Hendrix either. I'm like, okay, well, because they're like the first to do what it is that they did, and so like now by comparison, like everyone's like, what's the big deal? But at the time, those were really evolutionary ways of the art. So anyways, Citizen Kane, so I'm a big fan of that. The worst part, and I agree with you on this, the portal gun won't work right now without any additional explanation.
Yeah, there have been plenty of times in the history of Rick and Morty as a show where they've gotten into trouble, they've been able to just portal gun out of it, but then in order to create stakes or create some sort of situation where they can't just easily portal gun out, there's always some sort of like, oh, we're out of portal gun fluid, or the portal gun has no charge, Morty. Like, all these things from the original pilot, right? But there's always like a reason why it doesn't work. And I don't know if it was just the translation or what, but it was just like, the portal gun won't work right now. Oh, okay. Why? Why doesn't it work? Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, give me 3 more words, and it won't feel as forced as the way that it was written there. So that to me was one of maybe the worst parts of the episode.
Yeah. All right. Let's go into some other thoughts that we have. Sub versus dub. I want to start with that one because yes. So the dub, the English dub, I feel like lost some stuff in translation, maybe some rhythm and some pacing, and I think dubs tend to do that probably. Yeah. I did see in the subreddit and some other folks saying the dub is much better than the sub is better than the dub. The subtitles versus the dub.
I never fully understood this argument when I would hear my friends who liked anime like have this argument at length in front of me, and I'd be like, what is it? It's just like a recording in English versus like not, and but I can now say I get it. I watched the sub version, and especially after the episode aired on Adult Swim and people were talking about it some more, and I think some people had said, "Oh yeah, the sub version is better." I was like, I should do my due diligence as a podcaster and fire up that episode and check it out and see if I like it better. And I think I did. I think I usually watch everything with subtitles anyway. So
We're old people. We watch everything with subtitles anyway nowadays.
Yeah,
we're like,
it's
I
true.
can't. The mix is not great.
What'd they say?
I
But yeah, I
like,
think
under their breath.
some of the energy from the original recording, some of those performances, even though I don't understand the language, I think it might have been better. So I would encourage anybody who has only watched the dubbed version, if you have access to Max or things like that, try checking out the sub version on Toonami on the weekends or something like that, and see what you think about that.
The other thing I would say about the sub versus dub is, what I saw some stuff in the subreddit as far as like I reposted the trailer for the anime, and then I'm doing a discussion post. I'm not doing a live discussion. I'm just doing a discussion post after it airs. And what I noticed was, like, where some folks were like, why is this season 8? That was the first question, which was kind of weird. The other one was, why did they change the voice actors? Right. And like, well, because it was originally they did the lines in Japanese originally. It's not meant to be in English. I almost kind of wish that Adult Swim leaned into the sub as the primary and then the dub as the alternate. Because I think people would understand maybe conceptually better that, oh, this isn't the Rick and Morty that we know. This is an extension of season 7. This is its own thing, in that world, but not
Clearly, they didn't listen to our interview with the creators, who were explicit in saying, like, we're not just trying to put an anime coat of paint over Rick and Morty, right? Like, this is its own show. Yes, it exists in the same multiverse, but this is an anime that exists in the dimensions of Rick and Morty, but it isn't Rick and Morty. Yes, it shares 60% of the same title, but beyond that, it's and I think I understand where some fans are like, oh, is this just like where they did a weird spin on an episode, but this is the first episode of season 8. Not everybody keeps up with all the news and ins and outs of what's going on Adult Swim. So I could see where some people might get mistaken, but hopefully they understand now that it's a separate series.
Yeah. I posted the special sneak preview for not season 2, but episode 2. And I think we talked about this very, very briefly in our messenger chat, but you said that you actually probably prefer the Rick and Morty the anime subreddit to the Rick and Morty subreddit when in these conversations. Is that right? Did I read that right, or am I maybe I woke up from a dream? I saw you say that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So
that must have been a dream.
Brandon is going senile, everybody.
Oh,
you're
shit.
hearing it here live on the podcast.
My gosh. Only because the in the subreddit, the Rick and Morty proper subreddit, it's very divided whenever I post something. Sure. It's like 50%, what is this? What the hell is this? And then the other 50% is like, this is pretty good, guys. Like it's different, but that's okay. It's okay to be different. Whereas there is a Rick and Morty the anime subreddit that is very just all those folks in there
That's
like
just the positive people that understand it's different and what it should be.
we're doing it. Why is this Barnyard Cruise guy posting in the subreddit? Everyone hates it. We love it over here. I'm almost tempted to be like, if you really love the anime, go to that subreddit. Like, I don't want to give them advertisement, but I feel like they're dedicated to that, to the show more than this subreddit is. So
I wonder if there's two people that are doing a Rick and Morty the anime exclusive podcast called like Interdimensional Anime or something, and like I don't know. I'll have to check my podcast feed.
If they do, I'm going to sue them.
Oh, well, you asked for it. Here it is. One of my other thoughts, and I've thought about this numerous times every time I watch the show, as well as numerous times when we've seen it at places like Comic-Con, and that's that the theme song is straight fire.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, played from my phone over my microphone. Very good quality. I don't know. I like it. I'm here for the theme song.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's good stuff. And it's kind of chaotic and upbeat.
Yeah. Which like the theme song and the intro are kind of like that, like really like high energy, chaotic. And then it switches into the show itself, and it doesn't feel as chaotic and high energy. So that was also kind of like a disconnect at the start for me. But that also might be an anime thing.
And is it something that will be true throughout the series, or is it just the first episode? Like these are things we don't know.
True. You've seen the second episode, Travis, so you know better than me.
Yeah, maybe I have. We talked about a very different comedic tone. We talked about how this is a much more emotionally driven show. Any other final thoughts about this episode or this introduction into Rick and Morty the anime?
Yeah, what I'll say, Travis, and I think you can agree with me,
We'll see.
Oh shit! Our entire friendship relies on the accuracy of this statement. When we first watched the series, we were again underwhelmed. Maybe not underwhelmed, but we weren't expecting it. And what I would say is, I think it's grown on me. It's grown on me because again, like realizing that it's different, realizing that it's a different style, different writing style, all the styles, like
Harry Styles,
APA, MLA. If you go into
we went in two very different directions with that joke.
And you're going like Courier, or you're going like Aptos, which is like Microsoft's new default font. Different styles. So once you get past that, like I appreciate it much more. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to get me into anime, but it'll get me to watch at least 9 more of these episodes.
I will say, and this has become a reoccurring theme in this podcast, the second episode made me like the overall show more. I had a better appreciation for the show through watching the second episode, having not just watched the first one. So
that's what you said about this podcast. Actually, the first episode, you're like, I don't really like what we're doing here, Brandon. Second episode, you're like,
I'm in. Let's make 250 of these. So I will say, I will encourage you, dear listener, Unity as it were, if you're unsure, if you watch this episode and you're not really sure, especially if you watched the dubbed version, maybe go try and look up the subtitle version. See if you enjoy that more, and then give the second episode a shot, and see if it builds more context and more understanding for the overall story arc that they're trying to do with this series. If you loved the show and absolutely think it's awesome, I want to know what you loved. I want to know what your favorite parts were from the show, whether you loved it or didn't. We want to hear from you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on this episode, or you can write a review on your podcatcher of choosing, or send us an email at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. Did I get that right? I did. It's locked in. Send us an email. Let us know what you thought of this show, and we will shout you out in listener suggestions and short outs in an upcoming episode. Do you have any lingering short outs before we get out of here, Brandon?
I certainly do. My BWF best work friend Jeff, he texted me on Friday, and so he doesn't watch Rick and Morty. I think the only episode he's watched is like maybe the Meeseeks episode, maybe.
It's cracked through the cultural zeitgeist.
He just hasn't tracked it, probably because of the guy in the Pickle Rick episode, like squealing. He's like, I'm not gonna watch this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I talked to him, because as I do, about Rick and Morty. Is like, oh, there's an anime coming out. I was like, oh shoot, yeah, that's cool. And I was like, yeah, it comes out Thursday. So he's like, yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. So he texted me on Friday. He says, is Morty always so, or is this anime stuff? Second question, did Morty die in the original series, or is this anime canon? Third question, is Summer always this out altogether? I've only ever seen the get your shit together meme. I have questions. Also, I really enjoyed it. So I answered his questions by laughing first. The series is not part of the main series, which I feel that's accurate. Summer is competent as all heck in the anime and the show. Really, like we talk about, like,
yeah, she is super competent. She's just, I feel like she's more apathetic in the original series for the most part, unless potentially being paid in Wolverine claws.
Yeah. And then as far as, is Morty always so, I was thinking of like like Dragon Ball Z, when like the anime character was like, oh, and like they got the the sweat bubbles, like, so I was like, anime stuff probably, but Morty is all like, oh no, Rick, all the time. So
yeah, that's pretty true to the character.
So he says, okay, cool, I feel better about many things. That's all. That's all. So shout out to Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff. I hope you listen to this. If you want to get a shout out on the show, let us know what you thought about the anime, and we will answer your questions or share our thoughts next week.
I do have one more, and it's our YouTube. We got somebody named Scary to something like that.
Scary Terry Folds?
Scary Fairy, Scary Jerry? Scary Jerry.
Scary Jerry. It's probably Scary Jerry.
Just commenting on loving that interview that you did.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Good job, Travis, again.
Thanks. Yeah. If you're just tuning in and you did not hear our interview with the creative team behind the anime, you can check that out in our last episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for tuning in. And we will be keeping up with this throughout the season. So let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you like and don't like. And we'll be back next week. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Travis.
I'm Brandon. Thank you all.